Greetings and salutations.
No!
Welcome everybody to episode 292 of the Hoots podcast here. It's January 13th, 2022. We're done with this week's edition. Sir Dericho's Royal Decree.
Thank you. Oh, mine, thine royal subject. It is wonderful to be back on thine podcast that hooteth. We will see thine birds of thine owls that be floating through thine kingdom as the hootithness goes on. And we shall decree on thine royal scroll that perhaps mine scribe will be here to help potentially put people on a list. It will be a magical list, but we will see. But my scribe, and I went through about 4 different accents there, and I don't know why. My brain's in a weird spot. But, you know, my scribe is running a little bit late for work today, so he may be the one that ends up being put on the list because, I need my scribe to, like, when you're royalty, Josh, but, when you're royalty at this point, you have people to do things for you. Like, I don't have time to write on a scribe or, make food or anything like that. I have people to do that for me. And my scribe is running late, which I'm very upset about today. But we'll get into that. But
you're actually talking to a scribe yourself right now as we speak.
This is true. Maybe I can hire you, Josh, to be my scribe, to write people that I find offensive to put on my list.
Yeah, I'm a scribe of the pro wrestling.
You are
royalty, yeah. No, of the wrestling kind, yes.
You are indeed. It's true.
Yes. By the way, folks, you can follow me at Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. I'm not going to keep reading up about Twitter support. It's crazy to think that a month from now will be a year since my Hoots podcast account got suspended, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. So there's no point bringing it up anymore, But anyways, you can follow me there at Josh Lopez Media if you want. Hit me up on Instagram at JoshieLopez94 or at Josh Lopez Music, where you get to see me continue on play some guitar covers and some fun stuff like that. Make sure to type in the Hoots Podcast on Google. It'll direct you to anywhere you get your podcasts from, so that easy way you can follow it, subscribe. Going forward, if this is your first time listening to the show, thank you for giving it a chance. And for everybody who's taking, 5 minutes, or, some people that even listen to the whole show, myself and Brother Carter want to say thank you for giving our show a chance. And we're always open to some feedback. And maybe some stuff you'd like to see different from us in 2022. We're always open to feedback. So more importantly, especially for those who have Apple Podcasts, if you could leave us a rating, and also let us know what you like or dislike about the podcast. It really helps us out. So please type in the Who's Podcast. It comes to you free of charge. We don't have a Patreon account or anything like that. It comes free of charge, and it's top shelf quality content here. I even say restaurant quality, as JR would say sometimes. So the Who's Podcast is where it's at, and we are 8 episodes away from reaching episode 300, which would be March 10th. I guess I should start mentioning this now. Here's the thing. When we did I remember it was the 200th episode, I asked for some audio shout-outs, and we're going to do that again this time around. There's a couple things to do. Send them in an MP3 file and email the TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com. So it's the easier way to get it to us. And the deadline for those clips will be March 9th. I don't have a set, you have to do it this amount of time. If it's a long clip you want to share, go ahead. That episode is probably going to be long as it is anyways, where I'm looking at it right now. So, send your clips to the TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com if you want to give us a shout out. Shout out, as Pat. If you want to give us an audio shout out for the podcast, please do hit us up at the TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com. It really means a lot to myself and Brother Carter. So, also, last thing to plug here: bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com if you could, please. So, we do have a lot to talk about this week. Of course, we have the Good Brothers Q&A. As you guys heard, the opening part of the podcast, this week's episode is dedicated to the late, great Bob Saget, who unfortunately passed away this past week at the age of 65. I think somewhere around the corner we'll talk about football coming up since we got the playoffs starting soon. So I think I got a couple questions about that on the Q&A. So we'll get to that. That's the charm of the Q&A segment, where we don't have enough time to fill one particular topic into one segment. We get hit it in the Q&A session. That's the cool part about it.
I love it.
of course, we got this week in WWE. We got to get to. We're a couple weeks out from the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble on a Saturday. Let's not forget that, folks. It's not on a Sunday. It's on Saturday. All right. And then also, of course, we can't be remiss without mentioning the greatest segment in all professional wrestling podcasts. What the hell is wrong with AEW?
By the way, Josh, two things I will mention. Number one, Brother Carter is back, baby. Brother Carter is here.
Not only that, Brett Carter's back, but he's engaged.
Oh, no! Yeah. Honestly, Mike, you say that. That's what my bank account is going to be feeling here in the next little while. So that actually might be appropriate to say. But thank you very much, and to everybody who's reached out. I really appreciate it. My fiance and I are very, very excited. Probably looking at getting married the following summer, so June of 2023. So just as we, get finances in order and all that stuff. But everyone that's reached out, thank you so much. We're very, very excited, and it's going to be great. But yeah, when I saw that, and then I started looking at venues and stuff, and looking what this is going to cost me, I went, no, and not like yeah.
Is it like Darth Vader? It's like Darth Vader at Revenge of the Sith when he first comes in the costume, like no.
Yeah, right, exactly, right. But nah, it's gonna be all good, man. We're really excited. So thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. So that's I'm glad to be back, and it's gonna be all good. I will say though, Josh, and we're gonna get this out of the way here in the beginning. Normally, I give you a performance evaluation. No. And I have to dock some points from last week's show. Because at the start of the most amazing and award-winning segment in all of wrestling podcasting, you forgot a certain part of the introduction.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. You included my introduction, which is great. But before that, you typically play a certain clip by a certain cornet talking about the worst tag team, the second worst tag team in all of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When my scribe gets here,
I may have to rectify that.
I was going to say, I think this week you got to fix that.
Yeah. Here's a couple things. I have to tread lightly because even though you're not doing video with me every week, that doesn't mean that you're not listening to the show.
Oh, every week. Every week I listen to the show.
You are the director of operations, and you do listen to the show. I mean, who wouldn't want to listen to the show? So we got to end the show here. So.
Especially, our award-winning, our flagship segment.
Yes. So
I'm surprised he hasn't won an Oscar, an Emmy, a Tony, and I'm surprised he hasn't gotten an EGOT by now. That's right.
Anyways, I had to tread lightly. Not only with that, but I also had to tread lightly with my waterfall references now. So,
man. There may be certain times when we talk about that, I may have to just recuse myself.
Yeah, just mute yourself.
Yeah, just like I plead the fifth. I got nothing because if the fiance, or as my friends sometimes call her, the finance. Because let's be honest, with the finance going on, she hears any of this. I was talking about waterfall. I'll be like, Sir Dericho, if you want me to be the queen of thine kingdom, then we must be having a little royal chat. Like, yes, dear.
And it's not a kind royal chat either.
No. That would be me sleeping on the royal couch of Dericho.
Correct.
I'd be sleeping on the couch of Dericho. It ain't comfortable, man.
I love the show. We're barely 10 minutes.
I know, it's great.
All right. Anyway, guys, let's get this bad boy started. I do want to give one big shout out, really quick, to our guy, referee Tony S, who's had me on the last couple versions of his new podcast, The Heat Podcast. And he did an interview podcast with me a couple weeks ago. He wanted to interview me about my background with the media stuff and the transfers. So that was kind of cool. Get to share my story. But also, I got the fortunate opportunity to be part of a rewind where we kind of semi-called a wrestling match from Ring of Honor 10 years ago. So that was a fun challenge for me to give that a shot. for the first time. And I want to give a big shout out to referee Tony S. He's the man. He has a tremendous podcast. You should go check it out. And he did express to me off air that he would like to have you on, Brother Carter, individually. So we should set that up sometime soon. Have Brother Carter on the Heat podcast.
I will do that. I'll reach out to our good friend, the brother, good brother of all good brothers.
The brother of all the good stripes.
Indeed.
Yes.
Yeah. And if they hired him tomorrow, by far the best referee that All Elite Wrestling would ever have.
Correct.
Like, it wouldn't be close. Like,
close. Yeah.
No, he'd actually be in a live part of the show as a part of a dead corpse, worthless waste of time. But we'll get into that in about an hour or so.
Yes. So, anyways, let's get into it. Let's start off as we usually do with the Good Brothers Q&A session. All you have to do is hit us up on Twitter, either at Josh Lopez Media, or email us to TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com. Pretty simple deal here. We talk about wrestling, sports, relationships, anything that's on your mind. If you ask this question, we'll answer. So we're going to start off as we usually do with the good brother at Chris Aletta24X on Twitter. Make sure to follow him on Twitter there. He is a big time sports fan, and he has a lot of thoughts. He says, "What up, Oos? Here's some questions for the Q&A this week. Kobe White tradable or untouchable?" I'll say this: like, I don't know why a lot of people are adding Kobe White's name to being traded when he's been one of the more essential part of the Bulls' most recent 9-game winning streak. I like Kobe White. I don't see the point why you would have to trade him. I don't think any players in sports are untouchable, but when you have a homegrown talent that you drafted that's been a big part of your winning ways over the last couple weeks, yeah, whatever happened last night happens. You know, it's part of the NBA. You're going to get blown out here and there. But did anybody think at this time of the season that the Bulls would be 27-12 right now?
It's insane.
Think about that.
Insane.
So I don't see who you would get that would replace his value on the team. Plus, I just don't think it's the right time to think about that, to ruin the chemistry of the team and where it's getting hot. Yeah, they've lost 2 of their last 3 games, but again, we're in January and they're still in the first place in the Eastern Conference right now. This is all great to me. Like, I'm not saying, oh, the Bulls are going to go to the finals or Eastern Conference finals or anything like that. This is all great to me because I didn't even know they were going to make the playoffs this year. So for where they are right now, I'm just enjoying the ride for what it is, and I don't want to get to the point where, like, oh, we got to trade Kobe White, we got to do this, we got to do that. Let's just let it play out the way it should play out. Well, what's your takeaways from if you have watched the Bulls so far, Brother Carter?
No, I mean, I don't follow a whole lot of the NBA during the regular season because I think the NBA season is a work. NBA regular season is a work, and it doesn't matter until you get to the playoffs. But I have seen the rise of the Chicago Bulls, and I think that that's really cool. Well, you bring in a good coach, and it's amazing what happens, right? You bring in a coach that actually can coach up his team and can develop them, and actually doesn't just bring in a bunch of stars. It's like, all right, hey, just go do this, and a bunch of egos together. He actually brings in a team and makes it work. It's amazing what happens. So Billy Donovan's done a great job in Chicago, which isn't surprising.
Yeah, that concept is not adopted in Lake Forest.
No.
Anyways, next question here. Thoughts on Hard to Kill? I'll take this one as well because this is Impact's first pay-per-view of 2022.
Indeed.
And I'll tell you what, man, and I've been more than fair than I needed to at times when it comes to Impact Wrestling over the last couple of years, especially with that whole fiasco with them being on POB one year and then Destination America the next, and all the nonsense that was going on with the Dixie Carter regime. I thought this pay-per-view was very good. I will say this, though, and this is not just on Impact, this is for everybody within the entire wrestling industry. In 2022, I don't believe wrestling pay-per-views are worth over $35 or $40. I don't believe that. And, WWE has a lucky thing where they are owned and operated partially with NBC, and they have their WWE network on Peacock, and I think it's a good business thing. But if you look at it just in totality, I don't believe we're at the point as the industry where pay-per-views should be costing 40 or 50 bucks like it was when I was a kid in the late 90s and early 2000s. I just don't believe that. One, I don't think the quality is at that standpoint. Just being honest, looking at the overall collective of the entire wrestling industry, I just don't think we're at that point. And secondly, I just don't feel like pay-per-views should cost that much anymore. If you want to show up pay-per-view for 20 bucks or 15 like that, fine by me. But charging $40 for a January pay-per-view, I just don't see the point in that. I don't think that's good business. And Impact's a show that does monthly pay-per-views every month, and the other ones that they do, they charge at least like 20 bucks or something like that. So I don't see why. If it feels like a Bound for Glory or Slammiversary, I understand that. But shows like Hard to Kill and other pay-per-views around that should not be 40 bucks. That's just my opinion. I want to get that out of the way first. Go ahead, Brett. Are you ready to say something?
What I was going to say is that they don't have enough of a fan base to sustain that business model. Now, like if you're trying to bring in relatively new customers, which I think you're trying to do with a promotion like Impact and stuff like that, you've got to think that by charging less, you're going to get more people to watch, which will increase the revenue. You know, Impact does not, at least I feel anyway, and if I'm wrong about this, I'll be the first to admit it, but I feel like a promotion like Impact doesn't have enough diehard fans that will shell out 50 bucks every month or every few months for a pay-per-view. I just don't feel that like the vibe I get from that company is that they don't have that dedicated fan base. So you've got to try, especially now with with all the releases that WWE has done over the last year. Impact's going to pick up some of that talent, already have started to pick up some of that talent. With Mickie James now being in the Royal Rumble, people are going to go, Impact, what's that? So you have an opportunity to get some new viewers in who want to see some of their favorite stars. And so if you lower that price, then more people will be inclined to watch the show. So that just seems like a smart business move on my part.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I'm just looking at it from a big picture standpoint. And as somebody who covers 7 different companies a week, I have more of a wider perspective of what's going on in the industry than most people do, because I'm spending more time in detail with every show that I cover. And, is there great things about wrestling right now? Yes. But when I say right now that the industry is at a point where they should be charging people $40 or $50 for pay-per-views, no, I don't believe that. I just don't. I don't think the quality is there for that. And I'm talking about collectively. I'm not talking about one company over another. I'm just saying collectively, the industry is not as hot as wrestling Twitter will like to make you think, because AEW does nothing wrong. I'm sorry, you may think AEW is a great thing since sliced bread, but that does not mean that the pro wrestling business is in a boom period or whatever. We're not at that point right now.
There's a lot of people saying that in the last year it's like, oh my god, this is one of the greatest times to be a wrestling fan. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, there is a lot of excitement about professional wrestling right now that we haven't seen in a long time, which is great. With AEW starting to finally figure some things out. Now, don't get me wrong, AEW is still a long ways away from being a good promotion, but they are starting to figure some things out, which is you want to see that. We say this all the time on this show, Josh. We want AEW to be successful. If AEW is successful, it's good for the wrestling business. So we want them to be successful, but they're still figuring some things out. But it is a very exciting time to be a wrestling fan, but I wouldn't say that this is the golden era of wrestling. I would almost argue that was 5 years ago when NXT was really starting to blow up. And like they were starting to bring in like Nakamura and Sami Zayn and those types of AJ Styles when he made it to WWE. Like that was a huge boom period where WWE finally said, okay, we need to bring some of this indie level talent. But now, you've got WWE, which is in kind of they're not a good place. And I'll say this, I think WWE is getting a lot of negative publicity in the eyes of the wrestling fans, fair or foul. They just don't have a good look right now because of the number of releases and stuff. And AEW is starting to pick up on some of that talent, but they don't know what to do with the talent. You know, like you'll see, when was the last time we saw Miro on television in a legitimate feud? But he was supposedly a big pickup from WWE, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Well, and we'll get into stuff like when they bring in all these new talent for one-off appearances. Oh my God, they're in AEW, and then we don't see him again for a month.
Well, it's just like what MJF said a couple weeks ago. A lot of things that AEW promotes and showcases is a lot of bill of goods, and I'll explain a little bit more of that in the segment later on. But going back to the pay-per-view, I thought it was really good. Everything that I just said about money and stuff to the side, that's whatever. That is what it is. But as far as the show was concerned, it was a really good pay-per-view, and I do want to give Impact a big shout out because they deserve it. And I thought it was a really good show. If you guys haven't seen Jonathan Gresham against Chris Sabin for the Ring of Honor World title, it was fantastic. Really quick, big shout out and congrats to Tom Phillips, who's now the lead play-by-play guy for Impact Wrestling. It was nice to see that. I had a little bit of Tom Phillips fatigue before he left WWE, but I don't think that's I think that's more on Bucky Beaverboy in the production truck, Kevin Dunn, that's producing. We're not wrestling. Yeah, I had a little fatigue from him before he left WWE, but he sounded great with D'Lo Brown. That's not an indictment on Matt Striker because I always been a Matt Striker fan, and a big shout to Matt because Matt Striker is one of the reasons why I was able to elevate my skills, if you will, as a wrestling scribe because I learned a lot of moves and sequences from him. So I think Tom Phillips is a great addition to Impact, and he sounded fantastic on the show. The Women's Ultimate X match, the first ever Women's Ultimate X match, was pretty good. Tasha Steelz won that one. Moose, I was kind of surprised that the world title was not the main event of the show, but I can understand why because the buzz of Mickie James and the announcement of her being in the Royal Rumble. But I thought Moose's match with Matt Cardona and William Morris was good. It was just a good pay-per-view from top to bottom. Hell, even if you want to talk about Josh Alexander, a great Canadian, by the way, a great Canadian wrestler.
Yeah,
he's one of my favorites to transcribe. He had a good hoss fight, if you will, with Bronson Reed, a.k.a. Jonah, on the pay-per-view the other night. And then the main event, Deonna Purrazzo and Mickie James, Texas Death Match. It was a little different. I'll say that it was much different from the Jon Moxley, Lance Archer pretend to be last man standing match. This one was a little different. So basically, you can have it's kind of like added Iron Man rules. Mm-hmm. But you had to get up before the referee's 10 count. So you can have a pinfall, you can have submission as many times as you want in the match. But if you don't make it up to the referee's 10 count, then you lost. They took some really nasty spots. There were thumbtacks. There's a lot of stuff going on in that match. But Mickie James did retain. She is still your Impact Knockouts champion. And I want to say big shout out to Deonna Purrazzo and her waterfall as well. So overall, a good pay-per-view from Hard to Kill this past Saturday.
I have no comment.
Yeah, I know. First comment here on YouTube here, our regular viewer here on YouTube with us, Brett. He says he's better than Josh Matthews. That's the understatement of the year. Anybody's better than Josh Matthews.
Yeah, any of us would be better than Josh Matthews. Yeah, yes.
All right. Next question here. Here we go. We got a football one. We'll get Brett Carter started with this one. Do you see any upsets on Wild Card Weekend?
I was looking at this, and I'm looking at the card here, and man, I don't know if you would. Well, I'm looking at this. I don't know if you would consider this an upset, but I could potentially see Arizona beating Los Angeles just because Matthew Stafford has been so inconsistent in the last few weeks, which is unfortunate because he's got all these weapons. You know, Cooper Kupp is playing out of his mind. Now he's got OBJ and, Sony Michel's doing okay and Van Jefferson. So maybe, but just because of the inconsistency of Matthew Stafford. But it's really a 5-4 seed. I could see the Patriots beating the Bills.
Okay.
Because do I think it's going to happen? No, but Bill Belichick, he can take anything and make it work, So if there's anyone that's going to come up with a great game plan, I think the Bills could get it done. But other than that, I think the favorite should take care of business this weekend. What do you think?
I'll say this. I look at the LA Rams a lot that I look at the Brooklyn Nets. I think they're fraudulent. There's a lot of name stars on there, but as a team, they're hit and miss. Mm-hmm. And it's put up or shut up time for Matthew Stafford this playoffs. There's no excuses. I get it that the Cardinals have been having a good season, and I don't know if DeAndre Hopkins is back or not. They've dealt with a lot of injuries down the second half of the season, but that'd be a pick for me as an upset. I also say look out for our boy Adam Daly, hit his Raiders on the road against the Bengals.
Yeah.
The Bengals, they've had a good season, but they seem to lose a lot of games at home. And I've been trying to figure it out. I mean, if you look at Paul Brown Stadium, where they play in Cincinnati, it has to be one of the most depressing football stadiums to play at besides field. Like, who want to be there? You know,
Josh, you feel that way about a lot of places in Ohio. I mean,
don't get me started. That whole state should be turned into a parking lot. What a dumb. It's a shame. It's a shame the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is basing fucking Cleveland. Come on.
I mean, Baron Corbin says it best at the introduction of our show, doesn't he? By the way, shout out to all of our listeners in Cleveland. If you're from Cleveland, we love you. Be sure to hit that subscribe button.
Also, shout out to our guy, Eddie Petty Kruger on Twitter as well. King Ever Fitzy, and he's a good dude.
My only thing about the Bengals, Josh, and I could see that happening too, but there's another case of inconsistency amongst teams. Like with the Bengals, you've got Jamar Chase, who 1 week will go for like 50 yards, and then the next week puts up 270 and 4 touchdowns. Like, which Burrow Chase combination is going to show up?
That's so hard to say because Chase is a rookie, though.
I know.
He hasn't had enough body of work to find that point that he needs to hit. You know what I mean?
But they've been working. But Burrow and Chase have been working together for years because they were both at LSU when they won the national championship.
By the way, nothing would make me more happy than see the Steelers beat the Chiefs on Sunday. That would just make my day. Shout out to the Yinzers down there. Pick up Patrick Mahomes and put him down.
So, Josh, to borrow a phrase,
TJ Watt is one of my favorite football players. That's not a Chicago Bear. TJ Watt is.
Oh yeah. But to quote you, Josh, no shot.
Oh, okay.
No shot.
You did now? No shot. Okay.
I think it's going to get ugly. I could see I could see that one getting ugly real fast.
Yeah. We got a question here for Brett here. He says, do you think it hurts to Rumble men or women's match to have so many Vince legends come back, though it's probably just a one-off and they won't end it? No, I don't think so. I think that's the charm of the Rumble because nobody watches the Rumble for the match or the stories that are told in the match. It's the anticipation and the adrenaline of the whole match as a whole, from the entrances, the surprise entrance, the legends, the eliminations here and there. But it's not like you're taking the spotlight away from current talent because you're not watching what's going on in the ring. Yeah, do you get a couple finishers here and there, blah, 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 blah? Sure. And I think this happened more when I was younger during the Ruthless Aggression era. You would have certain eliminations that would lead into WrestleMania programs. I remember like yesterday, Kurt Angle's and Shawn Michaels started at the Royal Rumble. Even a lower quality WrestleMania match, Brock Lesnar and Goldberg started at a Royal Rumble. So I'm not saying that it's not important to have a spotlight on current talent, but I don't think the legends take away from it because the legends is part of the gimmick. It's part of what makes the Rumble special.
Right.
So.
And everybody knows that the legends are not going to come back and win the Rumble, but it's fun to see them for a few minutes. Like, it's really cool. Like when Carlito came back last year, like I was so excited because I hadn't seen Carlito in years and he has one of the best theme songs in the world.
So look at MVP in 2020.
Oh yeah.
Did anybody expect him to still be with the company when he showed up at the Rumble that year? You know,
That actually revived his career. It ended up being a one-off appearance, but it went so well that they were like, we've got to get this guy back with the company. Right. And now look at him.
All right, next question from Chris here. He says, Braun Breaker's future challenger. Let's go to NXT 2.0 territory here. I could see possibly Santos Escobar possibly going after him for the title. I think that'd be good. I gotta see who else is gonna be down there for a while. I did hear that Walter is spending more time in the US version of NXT, so that's possibly a match down the road you can have. I wouldn't rush into that anytime soon, but you know, Braun Breaker and Pete Dunne would be pretty good for that match. LA Knight. They have people there. They're slowly starting to get more building up their new crop of main event guys on NXT 2.0. That's obviously going to happen when you have the transitional period of your show. But I think more and more you're seeing more main event quality guys for that brand. And they've been putting on some good shows recently. So, I mean, it's up there. I mean, you can pick anybody. I would say Tony D'Angelo, because we still got to know a little bit more about his character, but he is doing some good stuff on his TV show.
Great. Yeah, well, that sounds good.
Yes. Okay. Shout out to our guy B-Rob in the chat room. Oh my God. He says,
oh, B-Rob, dude. B, how's that honey going, buddy? Have you improved the quality of your honey?
You said subscription city meat.
I have no comment. No comment. I can't comment. Hey, B-Rob, he's a married man. He knows what I'm going to be going through here in a little bit. Hey, listen.
Yeah. No Lorenzo von Matterhorn for you, right?
No Lorenzo von Matterhorn or Snassa or or the Snassa or
the scuba diver,
the Cheap Trick, the My Penis Grants Wishes. You know, I can't do any of those anymore.
Royal Van Gargle. Oh man, all those plays are out the window, right?
Yeah, it's over. Because I have to because I used a play, obviously, because you know it worked.
Friendship over. Start out with me, Marshall. Oh man, I'll say Bert Carter. We gotta figure out which How I Met Your Mother characters we are.
Oh, mine's easy. Mine's easy.
Who are you?
Yes.
I say you're Marshall.
No.
I say for tall stature, and you and him have similar humor as well.
Okay, I can see that. People have told me I remind them of Ted Mosby, and I am the Ted Mosby. And that was just
I'll take that.
Okay, you can be Ted, I'll be Marshall. That's fine.
Yeah. I like that. I think that could work. Yeah.
That's fine.
All right. Next one here. He says, favorite championship matches in the Royal Rumble. Just in history. That's a good question. There's an underrated one that people should check out. It's Edge and Dolph Ziggler from 2011 for the World Heavyweight title. You should check out John Cena, AJ Styles for the WWE Championship in 2017. That's the first
one I thought of.
What's interesting about that Rumble, obviously it was in the Alamo. How you pronounce that?
Alamo Dome.
Alamo Dome. There you go. Yeah, so they had the dome there in San Antonio, and this year they're having it in the dome where the Rams used to play. I'm surprised that St. Louis still had football stadiums out there. What another dump. But that match was fantastic. John Cena and AJ Styles.
Another AJ Styles one. AJ Styles and Finn Balor. Didn't they face each other at the Rumble? I think it was 18.
I think so, yeah. There was another match that wasn't for a world title. I will say Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose from 2016. It was a no-holds-barred match, 2016 for the IC title. That was really, really good. Roman and Corbin. No, that was a regular match. Never mind. I thought that was a title match. Man, that's a great question. Jericho and Benoit ladder match for the IC title. That's another one. Man, we could do this as the cows go home. Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
Oh,
bloodbath. I remember that. And then let me see if I can pick up one more here. Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy, the Royal Rumble in Madison Square Garden, 2008. You remember that one?
I don't.
Yeah, Randy Orton and Jeff Hardy had a good one. And I remember Edge fought Rey Mysterio for the WWE for the world title on that show as well.
Yeah, yes. I'm taking a look here. There's a triple threat match: Brock Lesnar versus John Cena versus Seth Rollins.
Yes, that's for Philly. That's a great one. Hell, even the Tribal Chief and Kevin Owens from last year's Royal Rumble.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, for the Universal Championship, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I got a couple good ones here. Triple H versus Cactus Jack from 2000.
Yes. One of my favorite hardcore matches of all time. That match was insane.
Oh man, yeah, we got some good ones here.
Sasha Banks and Ronda Rousey for the Royal Rumble in Phoenix a couple years ago. I thought that was going. Oh, Becky and Asuka as well.
Oh yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of good ones. That's great. Good question.
Yeah. Great question, Chris. Who are your 5 candidates for the Bears head coaching job?
Well,
hold up. Let me
go ahead. Yeah.
It really doesn't fucking matter. Okay, that's my answer.
Why?
Doesn't matter because Ted Phillips is still our president of football operations. That's why. I can't be a broken record here. I mentioned it every time we talk about the Bears. Nothing is going to change this football team unless there's a fundamental change of philosophy within the organization or we get new owners. Nothing's going to change. Burkhardt, I go through this cycle every 3 to 4 years. Every 3 to 4 years, I got to deal with this. Oh, somebody's on the hot seat. Oh, our coach and GM got fired. Oh, we're getting rid of our highly drafted quarterback. This cycle never ends. I can't even say that I'm apathetic with the Bears, but it's to the point where it's so I'm numb. Like when people reach out to me, like, "Oh man, you must be pissed or whatever. What's going on with the Bears?" No, I'm used to it. So when I'm reminded when the Bears are getting freaking blown out and being treated like dog crap on worldwide television with Chris ass-kissing Collinsworth commentary, I'm not surprised by that. I'm not. So, I mean, who, if you could tell me, Berger, who's out there that I should be excited for as a head coach or GM candidate, please?
There's one phone call that needs to be made. That's to the ex-head coach of the Miami Dolphins. You call Brian Flores right away because I cannot figure out that firing for the life of me. Flores had the team going in the right direction. They had back-to-back winning seasons. Now, did they underperform this year? Absolutely. I thought Miami was going to steamroll everybody this year because Tua was looking good. They got Jalen Waddle. I thought they were going to steam. Now, did they underperform? Yes. But Flores didn't have a chance to fix it.
Correct.
Yeah. So they didn't have a chance to make some adjustments to his staff or whatever he needed to do. They just they canned him. And I think Flores is a good coach. I think the Bears' first call should be to Brian Flores.
It's not a bad option. I did see yesterday they interviewed Doug Peterson for a head coaching spot. I mean, it's so up in the air. I've been going through this cycle every 3 to 4 years. It just gets nauseating after a while. I want to say that I'm excited. I'm happy that Bill Polian wants to help out. I respect his thoughts and football opinion more than Ernie fucking DeCourcy. But I'm sure my good brother Sam Pioma, who's also a Bears fan, sense my frustration. It's like at some point something's got to give. And I understand now that they're saying that Ted Phillips is not going to make football decisions. But even then, he should not be part of the looking committee for your new head coach and general manager. It's been let's get this right. 2022, right?
Yep.
It's been 37 years since the Bears won a Super Bowl. 37. I'm 27 right now. I wasn't even born the last time the Bears won a Super Bowl.
And you've said this before, like Chicago is a diehard football hungry city. Like
it's the damn charter franchise in the NFL. We play like dog shit. We're like ran like the Miami Marlins, or I'm not even going to compare the Bears to the Jaguars, but we're getting close. And I'm
well, at least your head coach wasn't good at his job, but at least he's not a bad person.
That's a good point. Yes,
you know, like
Matt Nagy's a mensch. Yes,
correct. Yeah. The next call I'd make too, Josh, and he's come up year after year, is call Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator of the Chiefs.
Well, why have they requested him for an interview?
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I knew you were going to trigger me with that question this week, Chris. I go to rely you on those ones. Your favorite like closeout or end of the show moments? Do you have any like cliffhangers from wrestling history that have ever like stood out to you?
Oh goodness. Wow. One that stuck out to me was, and I still remember when Brock Lesnar was in the back for the entire show, and like it looked like he was going to rip Heyman apart backstage. Comes out at the end of the show to make his appearance, destroys Kurt Angle. Everyone thinks, oh, it was a ruse, and then he chokes out Paul Heyman right there. I mean, we're thinking like Lesnar is legit. And then I remember that because people were so pissed. They're like, oh God, here comes Brock Lesnar. By the way, Brock Lesnar is now one of the most over people in the company.
Right.
Like, which we've known for years.
Right.
But so I remember that one. That was a big like, oh my God, Lesnar's like a legitimate. He's like a legit person. Like so that was one. Gosh, I'm sure there are so many that you'll think of. I mean, you have the obvious ones with Shane McMahon coming out on Nitro. That was obviously a big one. Gosh, cliffhangers. Maybe Ambrose turning on Rollins the night that Roman Reigns announced he had leukemia.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was a couple years ago, right?
That was that 17 maybe?
No, 18.
Was it 18? Okay. That was a good one. The Reigns Heyman stuff, I guess, was okay.
I got a couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely Roman and Paul Heyman when they showed up in the Thunderdome in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That came in 2020. It was 2 years ago already. Now
I know it.
That's anyways. Yeah, that'd be a pick for me. I also, I think a lot of people would expect me to pick the pipe bomb as my favorite because I'm a Punk guy, but I honestly think the better closeout moment for Punk, from my opinion, was when they had the go home show to Money in the Bank in Boston as the kind of negotiating meeting that him and Vince McMahon had, and then John Cena came out and talked about cliffhangers and gave people talk into the show that weekend. The best promo out of all that going into that pay-per-view to me was not the pipe bomb. It was the segment in Boston where he's talking about the list of demands that he wants and talking about how John Cena is like the Derek Jeter of WWE, and Vince McMahon is George Steinbrenner, and he's calling John Cena the New York Yankees in Boston, like that part. And he's like, he rips up the contract on the stage after John Cena punches him. He's like, this is exactly why I want to leave. And he's like, here's where I talk to people in the building. That promo from Punk is my favorite one going into that pay-per-view in Chicago that year. It was so fucking good in how to get people invested into a pay-per-view that weekend. Mm-hmm. I think it was way better than what the pipe bomb was, because the pipe bomb, it's not revolutionary. He cut a pipe bomb in Ring of Honor before. It's not something unique or new to him. Him cutting that promo is nothing different than anything that anybody was saying on a dirt sheet or a wrestling talk show during that time period. It was nothing unique about it. It's not. That promo before Money in the Bank in Boston to me is still one of my favorite closeout. I mean, of course, you could go to any of these Stone Cold returns. I remember there was a Kane return one time with Paul Bear. That was super dope. I'm a big Undertaker guy. Honestly, Judgment Day when he came back with the American Badass.
Oh yeah,
that was really cool.
I got one. The Nexus, the formation of the Nexus, that was pretty.
Yeah, that was good.
No, a lot of people were not expecting that after the first year of NXT.
Right. I mean, hell, even I was there for this when NXT and Raw SmackDown were they had like that World War III brawl. I was at that SmackDown for that Survivor Series a couple years ago. They had everybody brawling with each other. Keith Lee powerbomb Montez Ford to hell. Like that whole stuff that was really cool to see.
Because when you use a brawl sparingly,
yeah, not after every match,
it heightens the anticipation.
Oh, what a concept!
That's a great question. I want to go off, Josh. We'll get into it. Yeah.
For
teaser, how many brawls were there last night on AEW?
6.
We'll get into it. Go ahead.
All right. Last question here for Chris. He says, if WWE was able to get a surprise entry from another company, who would you like it to be? Me personally would love to see Okada or Jay White.
Oh, good call. Yeah, Okada would be good. I'd love to see Jay Lethal. I think that would be really cool because he's never wrestled in it for WWE, I don't think. Has he?
No, not that I remember.
Yeah, so that would be really cool to see Jay Lethal. There's been a talk of a Forbidden Door entry. I worry that it's going to be Jericho just because of the Stone Cold podcast and all that stuff. If it is Jericho, I wonder what theme music they used. I wonder if they let him use Judas for the theme music.
Won't you please go home and stay the fuck home?
Who else would be great? I know they couldn't do it, but if they could get MJF, that would be
that'd be gold. I will mark out that.
If they were to get MJF or maybe even Wardlow, like
that's not bad. I like that.
So,
but that's a hashtag no shot from
anybody
from AEW. That's a no shot.
Correct.
That's a great question because you've been hitting it out of the park today. I like to see maybe Eddie Edwards to be kind of cool from Impact. He's been kind of like the flag bearer of the promotion for over the last 5 or 10 years or so. I would say maybe Moose. I don't know if you want to have your Impact. If you're having the Impact Women's Champion, I don't see they had the World Champion on there.
But you can understand that one because she's in WWE Hall of Famer.
Well, yeah, of course.
So that you could like that one makes sense.
Yeah.
Sami Callihan, maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
That would be good. I'm trying to think on the female side of it too, who would be good to bring in.
Another no shot. I saw this on Twitter last night. No, Cody's not going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Cody's not going to be in the Royal Rumble. No. Anyone? I think any ex WWE person. No. I was
release guys. No.
Yeah, really recently released talent would not come back for like. There's not going to be like a Keith Lee or or anything like that. They're not coming, or a Karrion Kross or something like that. They're not coming back. Even if they got asked, I would say no because be like, you just released me. Fuck you. I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
If they could, Adam Cole, I still think Adam Cole is now he's regressed since being in AEW, but that's not his fault.
Right.
Because if what I read was true, he should have left WWE. If what they were going to do with him is true, then
it should be Nick Aldis.
Oh,
it should. I only say Nick Aldis because they had their NWA 73 pay-per-view in St. Louis, and St. Louis was kind of the home of the NWA for many years in the territory days. I think it would be really cool to have him or Trevor Murdoch pop up in the Rumble. I think that'd be really cool. Or even Chris Masters.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really fun Rumble this year. I really do.
I am too. I know I saw some people were complaining about, oh, why are they announcing the surprises for the women? I'm like, you're probably expecting them to pop out during the match.
And there's still, and Josh, there are still 11 to be announced. Like,
right.
You don't know who's going to show up. Like, I would imagine that some NXT folks are going to.
I will say this. I do like the fact that it's not as much NXT in a Rumble this year. I felt like that kind of put those girls in a bad spot because they were not exposed to that type of audience yet. So some of these NXT girls that pop up sometimes get crickets from people. I just didn't think it was the right time for that.
No, Mandy Rose you could put in there because she's got experience with both. So I think Mandy Rose would be fine. And, you can introduce her as the NXT Women's Champion.
Yes.
And then the rest of what's her stable? Toxic Attraction?
Yeah, Toxic Attraction.
Yeah, so you could have, you could even have them come to ringside with her and kind of help her or something like that to start getting them going.
Do you put Sami Callihan in the I don't know anybody for New Japan that I think would show up. Maybe Darren Young.
Oh, that would be cool.
Primetime player reunion, millions of dollars.
Millions. And then Titus turns around and eliminates him.
Right. There's a lot of options. That goes back to Brett's question earlier, man. That's the charm of the Rumble. It doesn't take away from the time. I just think that's a wrestling Twitter dirt sheet trope that people go to oh, this is the reason why WWE can't build stars. It's a gimmick match. It's not the end of the world.
That's right.
I'm sure Brian Alvarez and Sean Ross Sabat go on a soapbox about it, but that's what they do.
But those same fans turn around and say that AEW is the greatest promotion of all time, who relies on ex-WWE talent to solidify their brand. So that's
we need Sting to go beat down our younger tag teams, even for teams that I think suck ass, but you get the
point. I will never complain about seeing the Acclaimed getting their asses whooped on television.
Yeah.
Ever.
Well, I don't subscribe to the theory of saying one thing and saying another. Right. I don't have time for that flaky nonsense. But big shout out to Chris for some great questions this week. Also got 4 more here from Nate. Let's wrap up the session here.
Our boy Nate the Great.
Yes. What is the goal you have this year, professionally and personally? I'll start with you, Brian Carter.
Sure. So my 2 big goals are going to be personally is I'm going to be getting back into the teaching field this year. I've got some job applications out, so I'm going to be getting back into that next year. And once I know what state I'll be moving to, I'll be sure to let everybody know so that we have some locals in the area. We can come check it out. And then is to move in with my fiance. Her and I, she's living in Louisiana and I'm in Colorado right now. But this summer, we're going to, wherever I end up, we're going to be living together. And so I'm going to be living with my life partner for the first time. So I think those 2 things, it's going to be big things popping, little things stopping for the director of operations and Sir Dericho in 2022. No.
Thank you to MVP for that line. That's a theory and a mindset that I adopt every day. Big things popping, little things stopping.
Hell yeah.
That definitely be part of my answer here. But for me, personally, I like my goal this year is to make my move down to Florida.
Yes, sir.
That's my goal. I've been consistent about that. Professionally, I like to get our show up to 500,000 downloads and plays. I think that'd be really cool. We're at 390 right now. I think we could get to 400 by episode 300. I think that's a realistic goal to shoot for. I think for our podcast, I just think to take it to the next level. It seems like the years get better for me from a transcript point of view as far as like revenue and my opportunities in that. So I can't really project and say, oh, this is going to happen or whatever. But I feel like maybe my transcripts get shared on a bigger platform in 2022. Anything can happen. I stand by the quality of my transfers and the time and effort I put into it. Whether people think those transfers are good or not, that's not for me to say. But I like to see possibly having my transfers shared in a bigger platform and slowly by surely getting my way into the actual wrestling business. So those are my goals this year.
It's gonna be a great year for us, brother Adam.
Yes, it will. Next question here. What would you like to see from Walter in NXT?
Okay.
No.
Okay. Here's what I worry about, Josh, with Walter coming to WWE or to NXT. Now, am I excited? Absolutely, because I think Walter's one of the best wrestlers in the world, and he's been dominant from he was the NXT UK champion for over 2 years. Like, it's unbelievable what he can do. His matches with Ilya Dragunov are going to go down as some of the best of all time in WWE history. I worry that when he comes to NXT, NXT, he needs to be immediately put into the NXT title picture. Like, if you don't do that, then then that's a waste. So you've got to do that. I worry that with all of the structural changes going on in NXT, if something doesn't click right away, they're going to find a way to get rid of Walter. And that would I worry about that. Plus, also, what does that do to the NXT UK brand? Now, yes, they still have Ilya Dragunov and Trent Seven and, some of those superstars there. So they should be fine. But I just hope that can continue to sustain the longevity of the NXT UK brand, because you've said this before, Josh. It's your favorite brand, right?
Yeah.
Is NXT UK. So I think Walter's great. I hope we eventually see him on Raw or SmackDown, because I think he's, again, one of the best in the world, along with all of Imperium. I think would be great. Yes. But so I just worry about that he's going to get mishandled in NXT, and if it doesn't go well right away, they get rid of him because of a lot of the cuts that have been happening down there. So that's what I worry about. But I hope it goes well because Walter deserves the opportunity.
I'm not as concerned for Walter because they've relatively kept Pete Dunne the same way he has since his transitions went down. Not much has really changed about his character. I can understand at least little nervousness about people getting released and stuff like that if they don't fit a certain mold or whatever. But I think talent oversees whatever doubts that can come their way. Walter is such a traction in a way where if it was a scenario where the style of wrestling of NXT beforehand or what we see on NXT UK right now is so apropos to what if it was something that WWE did not want to embrace anymore, I think NXT UK would have been done by now. The whole thing would have been scrapped by now. I always tell people, if you want that style of wrestling for WWE, you should watch NXT UK. I think it is the best show that they produce each week. And I think Walter and Pete Dunne were good enough attractions to the point where they're allowed to perform on main roster pay-per-views. I think you look back at Pete Dunne and Adam Cole having an NXT championship match on Survivor Series in Chicago. Walter gave his spotlight when he can. I just think those talents, I can understand there's some trepidation, and I can understand that. But I think those talents are going to overcome those concerns, at least in my opinion. For me, I just want him to continue to be him. He is the ring general. He's great. I'm happy that Imperium are the NXT Tag Team Champions. I think they're probably the most underrated tag team in the entire industry right now as far as what they do in the ring. I like the unit as a whole, and we'll have to see how this one works out, pal. Next question. What is your favorite Royal Rumble moment of all time?
Oh gosh, so many to choose
my
from.
My answer is gonna piss people off.
Oh, I can't wait. God, Gosh. You know, Josh, for me, it was the debut of AJ Styles. I think to me, that was the turning point, one of the biggest turning points in the history of professional wrestling, because it really said, okay, at that point in WWE's history, it's like, we are going to find the best talent in the world and we are going to bring them here. You know, indie darlings, whatever, we're bringing them here. And I mean, and that, like, if you go back and watch that pop was just because everybody at the Rumble, the people that go to the Rumble shows, they know, like, they're the more hardcore fans, you know? So like that pop, when they realized AJ Styles was coming to the big dance, they like, that pop was unbelievable, because like Reigns was like, what's this music? What the hell's going on? You see the word phenomenal. Oh my God. You know, it was awesome. So that to me is my favorite Royal Rumble moment of all time.
I got a couple here. I'll get the trolling one out of the way. My favorite trolling moment for the Royal Rumble is Daniel Bryan not being in the Royal Rumble in 2014.
Yeah, that was awesome.
To me, it's awesome because it was so ridiculous that so many people went on so about, oh, he should have won the Rumble that year. Okay, so you're just gonna push away to the fact that Bray Wyatt beat him clean earlier in the show, but he's just gonna miraculously win the Rumble like nothing happened without Bray Wyatt even trying to eliminate him. By the way, was Bray Wyatt in that Rumble match?
I don't believe he was.
There's my point. So here's the thing, Booker expertise out there. Think before you speak.
Or if you want to get your point across, just give Tony Khan a call. He'll do whatever the hell you say.
All right, exactly. I think for me, my favorite Rumble moment for me has to be Edge's return.
That was a good one too. Yeah.
I won't say that I got teary-eyed, but I did get really excited. It was a very overwhelming moment. I thought that was just awesome.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I was just so happy for him. Now, not just because I'm a fan of his, but for him, the person, for what he had to overcome in that way to get back into the ring. That's just a moment I'll never forget. And luckily, our guy B Rob was there to check that out in Houston.
I bet that was just incredible. Like when that, you think you know me, I'm sure the audience just went nuts.
I would say CM Punk beating up Johnny Ace is a fun one for me, just for old time purposes.
Mm-hmm. That same Rumble in 20, Drew McIntyre winning and finally getting, eliminate, getting to the top of the mountain. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Let's see. The Mysterio winning the Rumble in 2006 was pretty cool.
Yeah, after Eddie.
My personal favorite Rumble match and moment is 2007, where it ends with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, and Shawn Michaels wins the Royal Rumble with that super kicking Saint Taker over the top rope.
Oh yeah,
that to me is my favorite. I mean, people could go with the obvious one with being John Cena making his return in 2008 for the Rumble at MSG. I remember one of JR's last great calls in WWE. Mm-hmm. It's just
that one wasn't. I mean, that was a big deal, but for me, that wasn't as huge for whatever reason. Just because, Cena came back, 5 months earlier or whatever, which is cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But for me, that just didn't have the same effect as like an AJ Styles or Edge or something like that. But there's been some great moments over the year. I bet, Josh, that this year in 2022, with it being the first Rumble back with fans, because the Thunderdome just didn't have the same effect. I think that this is going to be something major is going to happen this year. Yeah. And we're going to get a moment that we're going to remember for a very long time.
Oh, our guy Drew McIntyre eliminated Brock Lesnar for the Rumble was a good moment too.
Yep.
Shout out to Drew. Hope he's feeling better with his next stuff going on right now. So hope he's good. And
I will say this because we are impartial here. Yep. Also, shout out to Sasha. I hope she gets better soon. I'm sad she's missing the Rumble this year. You never applaud any performer getting hurt. even if, I do still think of her as overrated Banks. But we're going to be fair here.
Yes.
She has star power. If you haven't seen her college football playoff introduction video, it's really cool. So
I didn't get to see that.
It's really cool. I mean, I think Sasha's going to end up in Hollywood at some point. I think she's got the look. And so shout out to Sasha Banks. Hope she gets better real soon.
All right, last question here for Nate for the podcast this week. What is a first-time match you hope you get to transcribe this year? That's a good one.
Wait, say the question again.
What's the first-time match I hope to transcribe this year? Man, let's see. I would like to see. Now, this is Joshie the Booker. I would like to see CM Punk against Malachi Black.
Oh,
that's my first one. First time matches. Oh my god, man. You really have to put your thinking cap on because a lot of these guys have fought each other some way or another in Impact or Ring of Honor or New Japan over years, so it's hard to really pick out that litter,
Okay, I'll throw one out here, Josh.
Yeah.
And I don't know if these two have faced each other. Adam Cole and CM Punk. I think that would be phenomenal because I still believe that Adam Cole is one of the best in the world. I really do. And even though he's been misused in AEW, and I don't like his new gimmick, he's too much of an asshole. Like being an asshole is fine. Like MJF does asshole exactly right. Yeah. But Adam Cole's a dick just for the sake of being a dick. So I don't like that. But I would go with Adam Cole and Punk.
I got Bryan Danielson against Jay White. It's a pick for me. I think that'd be good. Let's see if I get some from WWE.
Well, Lesnar and Lashley coming up is going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun one to type out. Let's see.
What about something like Lashley versus Braun Baker? Or
Lashley, Braun Breaker? Not bad. I got one. Pete Dunne against Sheamus.
Oh, that would be fun.
That's one for me. Like to see Bianca Belair. I like to see her against Kaylee Ray 1-on-1. I think that
would be
good.
Great. Yeah.
We could do this to the cows go home. Let's see. Anyone for New Japan? Maybe against AEW. Probably do Tanahashi. I don't want to see him in Mox. I really don't have any interest in that match, to be honest with you.
They're going to do Okada and Omega on an AEW pay-per-view at some point.
Yeah, it's going to be an 8-star match.
Right. They're just going to let Okada and Omega, what would be the hottest AEW crowd they could find? And just put a pay-per-view there in the main event. You have Kenny Omega versus Okada.
Well, probably have to be here.
Yeah.
Probably.
If we could sell it with the United Center, is that because they
got to stop going to the Sears Center. They got to stop going to the Sears Center.
Well, here's the thing: like AEW goes to Chicago, like 6 times a year or something like that.
Somewhere on there. Hell, it's even to the point where I'm actually getting a chance to go to my first Dynamite in a couple of weeks. I'm actually going to Dynamite on the 2nd.
Okay.
It's going to be at the Wintrust Arena. It's my first time actually checking out this venue. It's right by Soldier Field, right around McCormick Place. It's where the Paul Blue Demons are based. That's their arena. It's a new one that came out a couple years ago. I haven't been in that area in such a long time, so I'm excited to check that.
Well, I'll be curious.
I'm not going for AEW. I want to make that perfectly. I'm going there to have a night out to myself downtown. So I want to get
excuse me. What's the seating capacity of that venue? Do you know?
I think it's like 10,000. I think somewhere around there. It's not too big.
If AEW wants to continue to raise their level, they've got to start going to bigger arenas. You know?
Yeah, if you're doing All Out or a big show like that, it has to be at the United Center.
Sure.
that atmosphere for that Punk show was something that I'll never forget. It was crazy. I don't think it's a environment like adrenaline thing like it is at the Allstate Arena. I just don't think that energy can be matched in different venues. But United States is a good one, and I think it's time for AEW to step up where they're going for their arenas. That's just my opinion.
You know what I think they should do, Josh? If they're going to do Okada and Omega, make it a super show and have it in Jacksonville. Because you don't have to pay for it, and you could easily sell 60,000, 70,000 tickets to AEW. Like if you advertise it enough as the WrestleMania, right? Because what's their WrestleMania show? All Out, I think.
Double or Nothing.
Double or Nothing, yeah. So like you build this as the greatest Double or Nothing of all time in Jacksonville, headlined by Okada versus Omega. You tell me that 70,000 ravaging AEW fans wouldn't come and sell out that arena?
Right. I agree.
That if they were able to do that, that would legitimately put AEW on the same level as WWE. And fair or foul, they can say, guess what? We sold out a 70,000 person arena too, just like WrestleMania.
Yes, sir. By the way, another first time match that I like to see Damian Priest against Seth Rollins.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. So I want to give a big shout out to Chris and Nate and Brett also here on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Brett.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us for this week's edition of the Good Brothers Q&A. Now it's time to get into what happened this week in WWE. For this portion, we're going to talk about, of course, Raw and SmackDown, give you a little preview for what's going on mañana, then also talk about the Rumble, and then I'll let you guys know what's going on for NXT UK today. But, Barker, I'd like to pass it off to you a little bit and let you direct this segment, if you will.
I would be happy to. Well, let's start with SmackDown this week, Josh. Yeah. And I thought SmackDown was a pretty good show this week. I thought both SmackDown and Raw this week were I liked SmackDown more than I liked Raw this week. I thought Raw was okay. There were some really great moments, but it was just kind of it was okay. And I like SmackDown a little bit more this week. I think to me, the biggest things that stood out from SmackDown this week were obviously the opening segment with Reigns and Heyman and Lesnar. Like, that was fantastic. Heyman is torn between his two allegiances. Roman's defending Heyman a little bit, even after calling him a piece of trash. Lesnar defending Heyman even after berating him. So there's some tension there. So I really like that. I think for me, obviously, the big moment of the week in WWE was the announcement of Mickie James being entered in the Royal Rumble and her being addressed as the Impact Knockouts champion. Like, it's a big deal for WWE. And obviously, I think a lot of people are now saying WWE is going to open the forbidden door. They're like AEW. No.
Can we abolish that term? Please?
No.
Can
we
get rid of that term?
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. No, this is a one-off appearance. I like the fact that they're acknowledging her as the Impact Knockouts champion. I think that's appropriate. I think that's fine. So that was really good. I liked that. And then obviously I don't think the Usos and the New Day are incapable of having a bad match.
Yeah. And also, I don't care how many times they wrestle. They get wrestled 100 times a week. I'll still enjoy having that match.
Yes. Oh my God. So as a wrestling fan, you don't want to see good wrestling.
Right. we can see Orange Cassidy and Adam Cole every week. That's not a problem. But God forbid we see the Usos in the New Day. All right.
And then Josh, obviously, Seth Rollins coming back was great. That's gonna be a lot of fun at the Rumble. So those were my thoughts. Well, what did you think of SmackDown this week?
I agree with your sentiment. I thought overall as a show, I thought SmackDown was better, but I think Raw had better matches this week than SmackDown. I'll say Paul Heyman's a whore. Paul Heyman's a whore. Don't talk to him like that. Reminds me of a chick that I was talking to recently, and she was like trying to validate a guy that was disrespecting her or whatever. I'm like, you're for the streets. You are out there, my friend. So I thought that beginning part was pretty funny. I didn't know that Connecticut was part of New England.
Yeah.
By the way, Why is it called New England when it's not a town called New England? I'm still trying to figure that out.
I'm not a geography major. I don't know.
Yeah. Damn you, Boston, and your weird ways of doing things. Anyways, I just gotta say, Pat McAfee is just a good vibe overall. Just hearing him on SmackDown this week, I enjoy hearing him do commentary. I really enjoyed the match with Charlotte and Naomi from SmackDown last week. I was glad to see that Naomi got a lot of time in it, and it was announced that Charlotte is going to be participating in the Rumble this year, which I think is a nice added twist this year because it's kind of cool to switch it up sometimes where you actually had a champion where the champion could actually decide who they want to fight at WrestleMania. It's kind of similar to New Japan with the G1. The champions are always in there for the G1 tournament. So whoever, let's say if the current champion Okada won this year's G1 tournament, he would get to pick who he would want to fight at Wrestle Kingdom 17 next year, you know? So I like the fact that Charlotte's in the Rumble this year, and it's added a different twist. As we get closer to the pay-per-view, I'll be very excited because I think right now, if you ask me, Ricardo, right now, I can't tell you, I can't pinpoint one person, either man or female, that's going to win a Rumble this year. And I think that's a good thing. I don't have one person that's like, this person has to win a Rumble. And I think that's a good thing. The whole thing with Seth Rollins at the end, talking about cliffhangers, I thought that was cool. I thought that's really funny. They got to do something with this Happy Corbin stuff. I just think it's just falling off a cliff.
It was funny for a while, but it's run its course.
And it's like when you're having the commentators openly talk about how bad this is, it's not helping the situation.
Well, I mean, and because for whatever reason, Pat McAfee's been allowed to really give his opinion, you know, and I think WWE is smart to let him do that because the Pat McAfee brand is perhaps it's the hottest sports.
It's the best sports talk show out there. It's not close.
Absolutely. And his is the hottest, one of the hottest names in sports right now is Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
So
by the way, you guys should check out the show. Check out one of his producers. His name's Ty Schmidt. He does a perfect impression of Nick Sirianni, the coach of the Eagles, and also of Jake Laser, Fox Sports.
Oh dear.
Told you. I worked out with Dwayne Rock Johnson. Do you know him? Oh man.
Also, I think Sami Zayn. One thing I'll say, Sami Zayn continues to be hilarious every single week. I think he's great.
I do. I know a lot of people are like, why haven't we had Sami Zayn Nakamura yet? Nakamura's kind of recovering right now from it.
Right, he's hurt.
So I'm hoping that him and Sammy get a chance to have a match at the Rumble because I think them having time to their own match for the Rumble, I think would be really good. Obviously, those guys would win the Rumble match, so give them a chance to put a barn burner on. I think that'd be really cool.
You've got to have some sort of secondary feud on SmackDown because we all know what the main attraction is and is going to be up through WrestleMania season.
Well, yeah, it's the Tribal Chief show. It's the
Tribal Chief and Brock Lesnar. That's right. Yep. You know, once because I assume Lesnar is going to drop the WWE title at Royal Rumble.
Yeah,
and we'll get a chance to face Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
So
let's get to Raw really quick here from Philly. Hashtag Philly is trash. Shout out to my guy Sam Piolo for coming up with the hashtag Philly is trash. That is intended Mitchell Mule, if that's your real name.
Well, overrated Banks is his hero, so that says all you need to know. Matt, I love you, brother. You're one of my bros. I love you.
We started off the show with Brock Lesnar having a back and forth with Bobby Lashley. How about that? Brock Lesnar can carry his own segments, and I have Paul Heyman speak for him. How about that? They did the whole knock joke with Bobby Lashley. That was cool. Like even Brock Lesnar, you know, if it was anybody else on the show, people would be like, "Oh my god, it's so corny! I can't believe the writers script that to the line." Like, shut up. How about you write a wrestling promo and see how that goes?
Right. Exactly.
So Brock Lesnar, he's been doing some of his best work on the mic in his career so far. I've really been enjoying that. I'm really excited for when we get the MVP and Paul Heyman back and forth. I think that'd be really cool. I think a good idea is to have either Corey Graves or Byron Saxton have a sit down with MVP and Paul Heyman in the backstage and have them talk about, because this, in a way, you could look at it as a prize fight.
Sure.
I think you could look at it as a prize fight. Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that. So we'll see thoughts with Brock and Lashley to start off this show.
I thought it was great. I think that their interaction was great. Lashley seemed a little awkward on the mic, a little bit. But I thought it was great. I don't know why it's taken them so long to get Brock Lesnar speaking, because Brock Lesnar on the mic has been terrific lately. I think that's absolutely terrific. So I really enjoyed the opening segment. I thought the knock joke was great. I think that the Hurt Business coming together was a little random, and I didn't quite understand, all of a sudden them saying, "Hey, the Hurt Business is back." And we're like, "No, it's not." And then they attacked Lashley. So maybe this is just a swerve. Combine that with Roman Reigns. So you get, yeah. So you get the combined of those two and Roman Reigns costing Brock Lesnar the championship, and Lashley wins the title.
I say it's a lot, man. When you get to these builds or these bigger pay-per-views and you have a longer stretch of weeks of programming, there's a lot of window dressing and plot points. Because one thing that happens at one episode doesn't mean it's going to happen at the pay-per-view. There's much more that goes into it. So I see your point there. Like I said, I thought this week Raw had better matches than SmackDown.
It had better matches, but there was just the overall flow of the show was very up and down, and it didn't make a lot of sense.
What part of it did not make sense?
Well, I mean, just sorry, let me say it this way. Some of the segments kind of just felt like, to me, really flat. I will say shout out to Alpha Academy winning the Raw Tag Team Champions. That's very cool. I really like that. And I think that's going to lead to, we were talking earlier, Josh, about Royal Rumble and about setting up feuds for down the road. Riddle is going to eliminate Orton, or Orton's going to eliminate Riddle.
Yeah, of course.
In the match, and then you build that to WrestleMania.
You can call that predictable. It's not a bad thing, though.
Right. Exactly.
You knew that was the end game with those guys.
Let's see what else. For me, the segment of the week, Josh, that I felt out of place was weird was the Nikki Ash Rhea Ripley segment. I just I get what they were trying to do, but to me it just fell flat. And if you're going to break up the team, which I'm glad they're breaking up the team, I think both of them need to be on their own, especially Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley was starting to lose a little bit of momentum, and she's coming off of a year ago was in the main event. One of the main events for the Raw Women's Championship with Charlotte. So that segment to me, I felt a little drawn out and just kind of, but the Big E Rollins match was terrific.
I also enjoyed the segment that they had before the match. Now, Rollins does not get his props on the microphone. He just doesn't. I don't get it. He's if you guys seen the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, that's the shtick that he's doing right now. And it's really, really good. I'll say this. One thing that was kind of a turn off for me for Raw this week is the commentary. I thought commentary this week was piss poor, to be honest with you. I like Jimmy Smith. I think he's trying to get more refined with his role. He's been doing a good job. I really have issues with him, but I'll say this: the JBL style of heel commentary, or whatever Corey Graves is doing right now, has to change. I like Corey Graves. I've always been a fan of Corey Graves. I think he does a great job on commentary. He's a good dude. I enjoyed his podcast with his fiance Carmella. I like everything about Corey Graves. It's not a knock on him personally, but the JBL style of heel commentary where we're cutting people off and this talking loud and obnoxiously, like, during the match for absolutely no reason is just it makes my ears bleed. And it's one thing to say, okay, shut up Saxon and do the fun comedy here and there, but every match, every transition, I get it. That's his role. He's supposed to be the asshole of the show. But at the part where I don't feel like I'm hearing Corey Graves, I feel like I'm hearing JBL. And that goes to the people behind the scenes of Vince and Kevin Bucky Beaver Boy. Like the JBL style of heel commentary or Jerry Lawler back in the 90s is played out. You gotta switch it up. I'm fine with having a heel commentator, but when you have a guy during the match just cutting people off and talking obnoxiously, I can't believe you're not saying the blah 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 blah. It's tough to. I'm trying to process the story you're trying to tell me, and Sax is it's one thing to have disagreements and have talking points, but it's like over the top sometimes with Graves, and I feel that dynamic with Graves and Smith that JBL had with Mauro Ranallo, and it's not good.
Right. I will say though, Josh, shout out to Corey Graves, who's been cleared for an in-ring return.
I saw that. That was pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Okay, like I just said, this is not a knock on him personally. I don't want people to take that way, but for somebody who does like take a step back and listen to the concert due to the transcripts, it just rings out to me more than anything. A lot of times his commentary takes away from the match for me.
Yeah. So I agree with that. And it's a shame too, because I think Graves is one of the best in the business. You put him and he's right under Pat McAfee for me as best in the business. But yeah, I agree with you on that. Okay, so go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, a couple other things. 6-man tag with Street Profits. Damian Priest against Paulo and Dirty Dogs. That was good. Solid TV 6-man tag there.
Love Damian Priest. I still think Damian Priest is going to have a breakout 2022. Dark Horse man, world champion in 2022. Damian Priest. Watch for it.
Rollins and Big E had a really good match as well in the second hour. I wanted to see a little bit more time for Austin Aries and AJ Styles, but I got the purpose of why they did that match. And AJ and Grayson Waller had a really good match on NXT this week. You guys should go check it out. And then let's wrap it up with Raw with this. We have the women's triple threat match. I want to give shout out to all three ladies because I thought they did a really good job in this match. Becky Lynch, the ultimate MILF waterfall. She's just on another.
No comment.
No comment. Mute the microphone. Yep. Yeah, Becky. She's doing some of the best work of her career right now, and anybody that says that she can't be a good heel don't know what they're talking about. She's fantastic. She was one of the good things on commentary this week, and I thought her. I thought the match was really good. I like the fire from Liv Morgan. She seems to get better in the ring each week. I see all the Piper Niven's drops work in NXT UK. I covered all their matches, so I know how good she is in the ring. It's one of those things where you can't just let a name of a wrestler get away with what they do in the ring. I get it. The name Dewdrop or T-Bar or God knows what is not the greatest thing I've heard. I completely understand that, but don't say that Becky Lynch and Dewdrop is a bad match because her name's Dewdrop. Look at what she's been doing in the ring. Look at the fact that her and Bianca been having one of the better matches in programs on the show over the last couple of months. She's good in the ring, and it was a nice surprise to see that she won the triple threat match. I think this may add up being a fatal four-way. Maybe one of them find a way to get in the Rumble match towards the end, but one way or another, I think some changes to be changed just to how the match was played out. But I thought this was a good main event, and I thought it was cool to see that Piper got a chance to win the match. So that was just my thoughts on that. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that all three ladies brought it in the main event. Again, Liv Morgan gets better and better every week, so I'm glad that she's finally getting an opportunity to show what she can do. I think that Becky Lynch and Dewdrop are going to have a great match, at Royal Rumble. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that overall. The last thing I'll say to Josh is, man, was it great to see Alexa Bliss back. That was terrific to see her back. And I'll be curious to see how if they transition her out of the Fiend character into back to Little Miss Bliss and how that all works. That should be a lot of fun. I would not be surprised if she was an entrant in the Royal Rumble match. Alexa Bliss. And then something weird happens and they continue her transition or something like that to Little Miss Bliss again. So, but great to see her back on TV. I like Alexa Bliss.
Yes,
I can't say any more about that. You know what I'd like to say, but I can't say that, Josh, because of things. But so again, Josh, I think that there was good wrestling this week, and then the show just overall itself was okay.
Yeah, I agree. Really quick, let's get into a little preview for NXT UK before we get to our main event segment this week. This week here at NXT UK, we have the last NXT UK match of Walter in his run. He has a match with Nathan Frazier, trainee of Seth Rollins. Nathan Frazier will fight Walter. That match should be fantastic. I'm really excited for that. We got a number one contenders eliminator match here with Di Familia, Rohit Raja, and Teal Man against Jack Stars, Dave Matson. That should be a good match. Last week's match with Symbiosis and Jonathan Hood's favorite tag team, Ashton Smith and Oliver Carter. That was a fun one to type out. That was a very good match. Also, you guys should go check out and see Miko Satomura against Blair Davenport, the first main event for NXT UK for the women's side for 2022. That was a very good match. Miko Satomura is still your NXT UK Women's Champion. Speaking of ladies action today, we have the four-dimensional Stevie Turner. Very interesting gimmick. She is fighting I think it's the only French WWE superstar that they have right now is Amel. She's on the program this week. So overall, man, NXT UK continues to put out bangers in the fun show. It's got the best commentary crew in Nigel McGuinness and Mr. Andy Shepard, and also, of course, the best officiating crew in WWE. Shout out to our guy Chris Sharp. He's a good dude. So overall, yeah, NXT UK should be a fun event coming up today. I'll be typing that out. You guys can check it out anytime you want on the WWE Network. Stream right now on Peacock. You can get it for $9.99, or you can get it for $4.99 if you're not a premium user of Peacock.
Or if you're an Xfinity customer, it comes with it.
Yeah. No.
Oh! Josh,
yes.
Is it time?
I think it is time.
Is it time?
Yes. 1 second, though. I had to make a remedy before we get into this.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time. It's Vader time. No, I'm kidding. Rest in peace, Vader.
Ouch.
No. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for what everybody's been waiting for, the greatest segment in all professional wrestling podcasting, and it's called What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. We're going to start this off in a 3, 2, 1.
Beat your meat, 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 beat your meat.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? Brought to you this week by Backstage Brawls. Or in this case, Front Stage Brawls, or any kind of brawl that this godforsaken company needs to. Okay, Josh.
This segment's brought to you by Snanza.
Actually, no, because if that works, I mean, I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with SNASA if you're able to make that work. But okay, so Josh, before we get into it, let's talk about a few things that we did enjoy this week, or that I enjoyed this week, and then you can talk about some of the things you enjoyed this week if there was anything. I know a lot of people may be like, "Oh God," but I actually thought it was cool to finally see Britt Baker do something with Adam Cole. I thought they're finally acknowledging that real life storyline. That's fine. I think if you can get Cole and Red Dragon away from second most worthless tag team of all time and the most overrated faction of all time, you could have something cool. You get them along with Britt Baker. That would be kind of cool. I actually enjoyed the segment with Wardlow and Punk. I think that segment developed that storyline with Punk and MJF very well as the eventual split from Wardlow. And it wasn't the match. Like, the match itself was fine, but it was more about the story. So I thought that was fine. Anytime Dan Lambert is on my television screen, I'm very happy. I love Dan Lambert. I think he's excellent and calls out the stupid AEW marks for what they need to do. And then I actually, and I know you're not a fan of this, Josh, but I actually thought there was a really good match to close out the show with Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia. I like their high energy. There was a lot of high energy, but it didn't seem like it was just a spot fest. When they did a spot, it seemed like it was a natural progression in the match. It wasn't just spots for the sake of having spots like the Elite does. The Elite, who is, we should just call them the Meat, because we should just call them the Meat. Yeah. So, anyways, that's what I liked about Dynamite this week. What did you like about Dynamite this week?
Nothing. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. I always enjoy seeing Punk on my screen, so it's cool to see him out there. Thought the match with him and Wardlow was good. For what it was, I agree with you. It built up another layer to the story here. For me, I have no interest in him against Shawn Spears, but that's more on Shawn Spears than it is CM Punk. But I get where they're going here. Let's see what else. I know it's brief, and they did a lot of like useless backstage segments, but I thought the vignette with Jade Cargill is nice. I'm happy that she's a TBS champion, so it's nice to see her there. We'll get to the other stuff that I did like later on, but let's see what else. I thought for the most part I enjoyed the Dante Martin match with Will Hobbs. I thought that was good. I like Will Hobbs' theme song. It's one of my favorites from AEW. I thought it's really good. Wow. So I thought that's cool. I will say this though: they need if you're going to continue to do the team tactic every time they have a big match on Dynamite, they can't lose. It's just a running routine that continues too many times with this group. I like the concept. I like T-Taz. Yes, it's cool that Hook's undefeated and everything, but you can't hype up T-Taz as a formidable group. But if you're going to have Will Hobbs and Ricky Starks having these big matches at Dynamite and they're losing every time, then what's the purpose of them being out there? Let's see. I enjoyed the main event for the most part. For the action in the ring, I'll be honest with you, I was indifferent to both guys. I didn't have an emotional investment because I'm not sold yet on Daniel Garcia. I think he's a guy that's being shoved down my throat right now by a lot of people. I enjoyed the intensity. Some of that there wasn't like a spot fest like you said. There was some good action there, but also it was just taken away to what I thought was leading up to it. And it's part of the main reason of the stuff that I thought this episode was just another hit and miss show. It's not saying that there's not good stuff on Dynamite each week, but let's not sit here and act like nothing bad happens. And again, there's a couple things in the show that I did like, a couple matches here and there, but I thought for the most part, this one was another cluster from a formatting point of view. And we'll start off with this. We have to stop with the dropping the load stuff. I get it. You want to showcase your toys out to everybody. You know, I kind of feel bad for Tony Khan's wife because it seems like he just wants to get to the thing as quick as and all that. So, you know, that is what it is. Or girlfriend. I don't even know if he's married. But anyways, you get where I'm going with that. But like dropping the load in your first 45 minutes of the show does not give your audience an incentive to care about what else is happening on the show.
Right.
And and sometimes with AEW, there's certain programs that go longer than they need to. But also just for the sake of, here's our guy, let's show him out to the audience. So in the first half hour show, 45 show, you have Adam Cole, you have Red Dragon, you have the Best Friends, you have the Young Bucks, you have CM Punk, you have MJF, you have the Dinner Circle in a backstage segment with Officer Brady, you have Eddie Kingston, you have your world champion. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes. You have your world champion on there. First 45 minutes of the show.
Right.
And with each AEW Dynamite specifically that I'm talking about here, there doesn't seem to be a theme of one particular episode. There's not one thread of one episode. And there's this misconceived notion out there that AEW is the leader in the industry when it comes to storyline development and making one thing go from one thing to the next. A wrestling match for a wrestling match is not telling a story. I don't care how many times you fancy book a card for the previous or the next week's episode. That's not storytelling. That's you just having a match because you have nothing else to do. Saying, for example, we're going to get into a feud with MJF and let's say MJF gets in a feud with Heyman Page, right? Right? And then, 1 week we have MJF against John Silver. Then we have Heyman Page against Shawn Spears. It's a repetitive pattern that I'm noticing way too much on this show. And also, like I said a couple minutes ago, the drop in the low thing. When you're showcasing all your best talent the first 30 or 45 minutes of the show, why should I give two shits about what's happening on with the rest of the show?
Right. Exactly. No, I agree with you, Josh. Like, so you're putting your top level talent at the start. Again, why would I stick around to watch Sammy Guevara? And I like Sammy Guevara. And I know you and I disagree on that, but I like Sammy Guevara and I think he's terrific. But again, the people that I want to see are done in the first 30 minutes. Like, the people I care about the most in AEW right now are Adam Cole, CM Punk, and for me, I can't believe I'm saying that, but Adam Cole, CM Punk, MJF.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. I don't care, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I don't care about their world champion. I don't care. There hasn't been one world champion in AEW that I have said, man, I want to see this person on my television screen every week. Think about the lineage of the AEW championship. Omega, Jericho, who else? Who?
Moxley.
Yep. And now Hangman Adam Page. Like, and I like Page. I think you can build the company, but they haven't properly put him in a place where I want to care about him every week. Like, AEW has given me no reason to care about any of their world champions.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff with Heyman Page right now has been a flop to me. Like,
yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I agree.
Good wrestling matches is not a draw.
No.
And I watched the show, and yeah, is it a great wrestling show with great wrestling matches? Yes, but is this a great wrestling television show?
No.
Do I have a purpose to watch it the next week? Is it something that I need? Is it must see that I have to watch it at 7:00 on TBS every week?
No, unless you want to cuss every few seconds because you feel that's what saves your wrestling program is to say the word shit like 10 times in your show.
Yeah, and then here's the thing too with Heyman Page. I'm a fan of his. He's like you said, he's one of the few guys I do like from AEW.
Yes,
but great wrestling matches with Bryan Danielson. Like it goes back to what I mentioned last week. Why in the fuck, if you're doing a world title match, that's not the main event. You're crowning a new TBS Women's Champion. That's not the main event. Like, what are we doing here? And that's a bad look too, because this is everybody's like, oh my god, Bryan Danielson and Heyman Page had a match of the year candidate last year. I enjoyed the match. I enjoyed the action. It was fine, but no follow up, Nothing from Bryan Danielson this week. Not a promo. Nothing.
There's no room, because there's no room for him on the show.
Yeah, and I just feel like we're in this holding pattern with a lot of different things throughout the show, where it's like we're kind of holding off to fight. We're holding off to do Baker and Thunder Rosa. We're holding off to do CM Punk and MJF. We're holding off for the Elite against the Undisputed Era. But by the time you get to it, do you give a shit? Do you give two fucks if it happens? By that time, that's my issue. Like, yeah, you can have edgy content, you can have your performers have creative control, blah 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 blah. But I see through it. I see through every aspect of AEW and their bill of goods. Like MJF said to CM Punk, I thought that was a great line a couple weeks ago. Like, everything you say is fake. It's a bill of goods. I can't say I disagree with them, at least for what Punk has done with AEW, but you know what I mean. But
sure.
Look, let's go back to this. Like 6 Afterbirth Brawls. 6 Afterbirth Brawls. That's not continuity. That's not storyline development. That's just you having a post-match Raw because you're so fucking fixated in being WCW when you're not. Tell me why we needed a post-match Brawl with Pentagon and Matt Hardy. A random cold TV match, Pentagon and Matt Hardy. Okay, bringing Brody King in. Want to be established new guy? Cool. I have no issues with Brody King. I'm a fan of his. I enjoy a lot of his work on New Japan Strong. He's from Ring of Honor. He's a very good wrestler. He's a big, talented, big guy. But when it's the 4th Afterbirth Brawl, or Brawl in general on this show, it loses its luster to me.
Yes. Him
and Malachi Black together is cool. They look similar. They got gazillion tattoos. No issue. I'm all in with that. But again, I ask this every single week. Who says no backstage and who looks over the formatting of this show? You're having 6 brawls on the show, and none of them served any purpose, especially the main event, which we're going to get into in a couple of minutes, because that was bullshit at the end. So, okay, Matt Hardy and Pentagon have a long gated match. It's just there. Mm-hmm. Okay, here comes the Varsity Blondes. We're supposed to believe now that Julia Hart's going to turn heel because, black mist into her eyes. But we know nothing of Julia Hart, so why would it be a big reveal if she joins the group?
Right.
I'm watching this thing, and it's like they do stuff. There's a lot of moves, and we have a brawl. It's rinse, repeat, and let's transition to the next match. It's ridiculous. The Acclaim have a long ass match with Bear Country. A match that I typed out from AEW Dark a couple of weeks ago. A rematch. This match had to be at least 10 or 15 minutes. I thought it felt like forever for me typing it out last night.
Yet Bryan Danielson, who is in a feud with your world champion, is not on the show.
Yeah, no backstage interview, nothing with Officer Barbrady, nothing.
Right.
Let's get into this. We have Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida. You've been building this up as another match, another rivalry thing here. They seem to drag this out here with these two ladies. Talk about progress that need to end soon. Mm-hmm. So, because you don't know how to format a show, you decide to, let's just run an injury angle match. Let's have Serena do a chop block on a stage because we can't time out a show. We wasted 15 minutes with the fucking Elite brawling with the dumb friends all over the ringside area.
We'll get to that here in a second, yeah.
Like, cool. Britt Baker hanging out with that, cool. I don't have a problem with that. But, again, an opening segment, talking segment, that bled into nothing else in the rest of the show. What did we find out? Adam Cole is fighting Trent Beretta on Rampage this week. Who gives a fuck? Honestly. And then next week, sooner or later, we're going to have Best Friends again against the Undisputed Era. it's this cycle that never sees to end here.
Mhm.
You get where I'm coming from?
Absolutely. It's okay. Let's go from the beginning now. Let's run down the show, and then we can talk about the crap. Okay, so let's talk about this opening segment. You have Adam Cole coming out with Red Dragon. Fine. I wrote down, I love Kyle O'Reilly, but God, he looks like a tool. Just walking around all the time, and like trying to play up to Adam Cole. I think he looks like a complete tool. I don't understand why the Bobby Fish is not good on the microphone. Like, right. I don't understand why they let him talk. Okay, Josh, I want to talk a little bit. Well, first off, what the hell was Nick Jackson wearing? Like, did you see that outfit he had on? Like, God, he looked like a moron. I want to talk a bit about Brandon Cutlet.
Oh, boy.
So if you're Brandon Cutler, right, I look at this dude and I'm like, is this, like, if I'm Brandon Cutler, I have to look in the mirror and go, is this what I want for my career? Basically, everybody that I interact with yells at me, puts me down, tells me I'm a moron. I have to wear this stupid mask. I have to spray people down with whatever it is, the spray. Like, what is the point of having Brandon Cutler on your TV show every week, but people like who you think are great, like Miro, Bryan Danielson, Jade Cargill didn't even get like some in-ring time, and she's your TBS champion. Like, they just gave her a new title and she didn't get an in-ring promo. But yet Brandon Cutler is allowed on my TV screen to spray paint people with like, I can't stand Brandon. Well, I can't stand the Elite in general, and Cole needs to get away from the Elite. But Brandon Cutler just drives me nuts every week, Josh. And then of course it ends with useless brawl number 1. Does anybody truly believe that Pockets can hang with Adam Cole?
No.
Like, does anybody believe? Anybody with any sense of wrestling knowledge think that Orange Cassidy is a credible challenger for Adam Cole?
No, him doing the Superman punch and having a generic indie wrestling style, it's not enough for me to look past this stupid gimmick.
Right.
And then we got to do the stupid kicks all the fucking time.
Oh,
his hamstring's on fire. Oh my God. I can't suspend my disbelief with that.
Can you imagine if he did that to Roman Reigns? What would Roman Reigns do? He would turn around and punch him in the mouth and knock him out.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to jump for it.
No.
Oh my God.
Okay, so
what else?
Okay, then we get into the Dante Martin Powerhouse Hobbs. I thought that was an okay. I wrote down, I think Dante Martin is a hell of an athlete. I think he's a really good athlete. But and then all of a sudden Jay Lethal is inserting himself randomly into this feud, and I don't.
Again, another guy we just recently said we got to showcase the audience, so let's have him run out to the ring for nothing.
Right. Okay, Josh. Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Oh, fuck.
Named the Inner Circle their faction of the year. In the meantime, you've got the Bloodline. You've got, I'm not
LIJ.
You got what?
LIJ. You got Chaos. You got Violent by Design for Impact.
Right. But what do? We give it to the Inner Circle. Because let's break down what we have with the Inner Circle. Useless Y2J. Jake Hager, who has literally done nothing with this company for a year and a half, yet still somehow gets a paycheck. Santana and Ortiz, who have talent. And Sammy Guevara, who I like. But that's your faction of the year. Somebody who does Le Dinner Debonair is in your faction of the year. Like, really? And of course, AEW touts this like, oh my God, this publication, this third-party publication named us faction of the year. Therefore, God, we're doing something right. Like, really?
Yeah, your faction that had a segment with Urban Meyer during Football Fuckery Part 2 is your faction of the year. Like, give me a break.
But then you bring on Eddie Kingston, who is way better than any of the Inner Circle on the microphone. But yet, Inner Circle is your faction of the year. Like,
well, here's the thing: like, they're having this backstage segment with Officer Barbrady, and did anything that Eddie Kingston said that Jericho was wrong?
No,
because it's true. The Inner Circle sucks. Chris Jericho needs to get off my TV as soon as possible. And why is Jake Hager there if he's never serving a purpose? And it's true. Santana Ortiz should have been much more accomplished in this promotion than what they've been doing right now.
Yes.
And it's because it's Chris Jericho. And it's okay. And here's the thing, like, I'm so tired of Chris Jericho that I don't even care if Chris Jericho and Eddie Kingston have a match. What, you guys are going to stretch this out to Revolution?
All friends wrestling, Josh. If you're a friend, come on in. We'll get you a check.
Yeah, come on in.
Okay. Let's see. All right, let's keep going. Okay. And you hit on this briefly, but is it me or does AEW's World Champion seem like an afterthought and one of the most irrelevant parts of the show?
Well, that's what I was saying a couple minutes ago. Like, you're having your guy, your world champion, not in the main events, a big time time match. You have, again, because we have to have this drop the loads theory. We got to have this. We have to have our best matches in the first part. We got to have our biggest stories. We got to have our biggest guys at the beginning of the show. But there's no threat to it. I'm not saying have a fit. You don't have to repeat the WWE formula of having a 50-minute promo and having that be the main event of the show. But can you at least tell me who is the top guy of the show? Can we establish that?
I have no idea.
Can we establish what the identity of this fucking show is? That's the problem. Like, I forget sometimes that Hangman Page is the world champion. It comes off like that in the way he talks and how his segments come out. Okay, great to see Lance Archer on our screen.
Oh, God.
I'm a fan of Lance Archer. But how many times is this dude going to turn like the fucking Big Show?
Well, and then here's the thing, Josh. This company says that ratings matter, right? But all you have to do to get a world title match is get on the shelf, come back and attack the world champion, and you get a world title match. Like,
what is Seltzer and Alvarez not impressed by Hangman Page, so they tell him that you can't spotlight Hangman Page on the show?
I don't get the inconsistency. It's the hypocrisy of AEW is what it is.
Yes.
Like, they tout themselves as something that they then do something completely different.
Exactly.
Oh, God. Okay.
What we had next?
Okay. We had a useless backstage segment with Anderson and Tully. I didn't care about that.
Yeah, me either.
Didn't mind the Serena Deeb and Hikaru segment, but it went too long. What's the build and what's the point? Okay. So you talked about Malachi Black, right? And then, and his thing. The Varsity Blondes come out and put the boots to Malachi Black like heels, but they're supposed to be the faces, right? But then all of a sudden, lights go out. Here comes Brody King. So are Malachi Black and Brody King the faces now?
Well, here's the thing. Like, it's another post-match brawl, right?
Right.
We've had a match with Matt Hardy and Private Party were out at ringside. I would understand if the Varsity Brawls would come in and even the odds if Private Party and Matt Hardy were ganging up on Pentagon. I would understand that, right? I completely understand that. But I didn't see Matt Hardy or Private Party in that brawl. They left off. And you have three baby faces stopping the shit out of somebody. What? And it's like, oh, well, this is part of the story. Malachi Black beat up the Varsity Blondes. Nobody gave a shit about the Varsity Blondes then when that happened. And nobody gives a shit about it now. Even if Julia Hart joins the group, but like I said a couple minutes ago, we don't know who she is.
Right. By the way, speaking of other people that need to go home, the running limp man needs to go home and stay home. God, he was awful.
Nice to see Rebby Hardy on my screen, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was great. Okay, keeping going here. Weird interview with Chris Stantler, Red Velvet, and Layla Hirsch. That was just awkward.
Yeah, very awkward. Dark feud. Yep.
And good Lord, do I hate the Acclaim. Like, every time I see them and Max Caster opens his damn mouth, I want to change the channel. Shut up, Josh. Shut up, Josh. No. But yet somehow, then the Acclaimed, but then again, like you said, we're putting elevation matches on Dynamite because they face Bear Country, but yet the main attractions, the people that you pay a ton of money to, are not on our TV screen. Like, it makes no sense to me. So I hate them. And then the last two things I have was the Pac promo was fine.
That was good.
Yeah. And then the other question I have is, why does Adam Cole only wrestle on Rampage? Like, I thought Dynamite was your flagship show, but he seems to wrestle more on Rampage than he does on Dynamite.
Yeah. A couple things on my end.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tony Khan, for deciding to put out 14 matches on AEW Dark this week. I appreciate that. You know, I hate the fact when they have these like specials, like they tape like 2 hours of Dark, and it's like it's not necessary. Nobody gives a shit about Eddie Kingston against Jelly Nutella. Like, why is that a match I had to type out?
Right.
And then how about this? We had here, I love this. It was the Dark Order in Heyman Page for Dark this week. It was them in the main event against the Running Lip Man, Isaiah Cassidy, and Serpentico. That was the main event this week on Dark. I'm like, oh my god, just kill me now. And then a couple other things I wanted to mention. I agree with you. It's kind of ridiculous that Adam Cole is on Rampage Wrestling on there. Why is it that Jericho's closing out Dynamite every week now? Like they had that weird thing last week where they put a shot of Jericho on camera. It's like, is Jericho doing the backstage politics thing where he's not getting enough attention, so he needs to be on the like him arguing with Kingston at the end of the show was like, who cares?
Right.
It's just too much Jericho on my screen, and my friends, Chris Jericho is one of the many reasons is what the hell's wrong with AEW.
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. Hey, at least we didn't see anybody's mom.
Look at your hopes up. Probably roll out on Friday.
Yeah. Oh, God.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, another stellar edition of the Hoots podcast. We're about to wrap up in a couple of minutes. This is a fun episode today, man. We really killed it today.
Yeah, man, it was great.
Again, I want to send my thoughts and prayers and condolences go out to the family of Bob Saget. It was really sad news, so I hate seeing that the other day. So my thoughts go out to the Saget family. Did want to mention there's a royal pamphlet that's out there that may have to come to use sooner or later. A thing that used to be called the List of Dericho. I don't know what world adjustments we have to.
Yeah, if you have ideas, but do we have to call it the Scroll of Dericho?
The Scroll of Dericho. Tread lightly, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you're giving me something to think about here, Josh. The Scroll of Dericho may need to make an appearance, but it's got to be something super special. Like, really, here's the problem, Josh. Like, I don't think that anything in AEW deserves to be put in the same realm as the Scroll of Dericho. Like, you tell me I'm going to put the Acclaimed on my scroll? Hell no.
Hey, you have a flaky chick on the List of Dericho, so
that's true. I do. All right, Josh, get us out of here.
Let's get out of here. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. This is a fantastic episode. We are 8 episodes away from reaching episode 300. Sooner or later, get ready for our predictions for the Rumble of Royalty. No, we'll get to that in a couple weeks. And make sure to follow Bert Carter on Twitter at Derek Stoughton. Make sure to check out DerekStoughton.com to support his musical adventures. Myself, you can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media, at Josh Lopez 94. That's JOSHIE Lopez 94 on Instagram, or at Josh Lopez Music. Also, I may be participating in the Julio Herrera or the other adoration of the Lorenzo von Matterhorn later on today. But with that being said, make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTreasures.com as well. My website where I have all of my result pieces, and make sure to leave us a rating on the show. Make sure to type in the Who's Podcast anywhere you get your podcast from. Follow the show; it comes to you free of charge every single Thursday on Apple Podcasts. And if you guys want to send me audio shout-outs on the podcast, you just send us an MP3 file to TheHootsPodcast@gmail.com. No time limit on how long the shots can be. Just listen to them. For Brother Carter. I am Brother Adam. This has been episode 292 of the Hoots Podcast. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Remember, be the authentic product that is yourself, and nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back here for episode 293 next week. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.